allegiance.
New positions,
Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And at this time, we're going to grant Westcap permission to videotape the meeting and ask if anyone else wishes to record the meeting. Seeing none. All right, on the chairman's update, this is a reminder that the annual 2016 town meeting will be held on Monday, May 2nd, 2016. The Finance and Warrant Commission will be holding two public hearings. First one will be this evening, March 7th at 7:30 in the community room at the library. And the second one will be Monday, March 28th at 7:30 in the community room at the library. Residents are encouraged to attend and hear about each article that will be presented at town meeting this year. Okay, moving along. Next on our agenda, we have a financial update. Ms. Dukeman?
Hello. So just a quick update. We're continuing to move the budget process forward. Since your last meeting, we've continued to have various meetings, including with the Long Range Financial Planning Committee and our Budget Steering Committee. We continue to thoroughly review all of the information in the budget that you've been going through, make sure everyone understands how that's working. At both those meetings, the Finance Commission offered feedback that they felt that they had been through that material a significant amount of time and, really had a good handle on that. And that really, I think shows to the Selectmen's trying to be so open and transparent with the budget process. People really feel that the material's out there, and we're spending a significant amount of time going through that. Now the Finance Commission is going through the budget request. They've been meeting with many of our municipal department heads, and I know Mike's been at most of those meetings. So they've been meeting and kind of making sure they understand the requests that we're putting forward. And I believe they're having the school committee in tomorrow night to do the same thing. So the Finance Commission will be going through the budgets to make sure they understand kind of what's the change year to year in each budget, kind of what's driving the budget increase. They'll look at the various components of that, including kind of going through like expense increases, salary increases, wage increases. The wage increase is kind of the number one driver of any budget increase year to year, so I know they'll be taking a good look at that. And we'll start to get that feedback over the next week or two. So one of the final pieces to do is the capital budget. And you do have that packet before you. And you had seen this in draft form. And we did take one final look with the Long Range Financial Planning Committee at the meeting last week, and now have these capital articles to recommend to you. So just looking in here, and actually the second page in what's listed as page 3, just starting to show you how the different articles will be. The first is the sewer article. And a couple of projects there, in particular, their ongoing repair and maintenance of the system. You might see a little change to that first item just based on how we're going to use some MWRA grant money towards that. You might see that number change a little bit. But the idea is they're doing $400,000 worth of work, inspecting and repairing the system, and a significant portion of that will be funded through an MWRA grant program. The article on the bottom is the school capital article as proposed by the school committee. And then on the next page, page 4, is our main municipal capital article. Pretty standard with what's listed there. Necessary public safety and DPW equipment. The one item, the item at the bottom, the library branch, the boiler, the Long Range did feel it was necessary to go forward with that at this time for $20,000. And I'll just point out, because before I mention on the next page, the ladder truck. It's very typical that we lease purchase our large fire equipment from a company, from the company that makes it. And we have 2 payments remaining on some current equipment that was purchased a couple of years ago. So we do a 5-year lease purchase. FY17 is the 4th year out of 5 for our current equipment. And then turning page 5 were the couple of items that we were looking at with Long Range. The first one being replacing the high school turf field. And that's been thoroughly discussed with Long Range in a couple of different meetings. And they are recommending that we go forward with that at this time. that it's been in place for about 10 years, that is the life cycle of that equipment. Todd has had companies in to take a look at that, and that it does seem time to go forward with that, as well as the track surrounding it.
The track gets a new seal coat, I believe, a new spray
Right.
coat.
Not full replacement, yes.
But good to do it at the same time because they can do it while the turf field is under reconstruction and time it for weather conditions and not displace use of the field any longer than what the turf portion requires.
Yeah, just a quick question, not to get off this, but how far behind is the multi-purpose field? In other words, you're doing the football field now, do we know from the long range how many years behind that is?
Yes, Todd had it in the long range, just kind of 1 or 2 years behind.
Maybe as many as 3.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm not sure that field gets the same traffic.
Right.
It's
That's
not far
why-
behind, Pat.
Huh?
It's not far behind.
No?
That's- No.
2 years, okay.
We had some discussion with Long Range. We had talked about that this community-wide type of project was perfect project to be funded from our capital stabilization fund. And we had been talking about the Long Range, would we kind of just fund it from that account now at town meeting, or would we look to borrow this and then make repayments from that account? It is eligible for borrowing, so.
You only have to approve it once out of?
Only have to
the
approve it once.
stabilization account?
I was talking through this, though, with Treasurer Gavin, and we would, at this point, recommend that we just do the one-time funding. We have some other significant borrowings that we'll be packaging up for next year, and it does seem, as this is a smaller item in terms of what we borrow, that it may make more sense to just make the one-time payment from the account. So we have 1.7 million in the capital fund that really just got set up in last fall. This might be a way to kind of show people that this is what we use the money for. So we can still, discuss that further before the final.
So in essence, a portion of the money we captured last fall with the town meeting, the 925,000, we've now identified.
We now have
An
a project.
important, yeah,
Yes.
I don't want to
And-
say acquisition, but an important investment to keep the
Yes.
field.
And I think, if this had been kind of ready to go at the fall town meeting, people would have approved that project at the time, but it wasn't, so it was great to have that fund to kind of put the money into. And again, we can kind of finalize that, and we can look at that further, but that's really the choice. It seems to be the project needs to go forward, everyone seems very supportive of that, and that we would use that fund as a way to finance this. The second item is just, there are 2 fire engines, main equipment for the fire station, the fire operations, ready to go. In total, that costs just over $1 million. It does make more sense to purchase the 2 at once. And again, Chief Scoble was into Long Range and went through that thoroughly with the group, and everybody was on board that needed to go forward. We would, as I mentioned, fund that through the 5-year lease purchase with the company. And really, the way that works, in this first year, we would only need the 100,000 down payment, so we would get this approved at town meeting. And when we go to make our first payment, the ones I pointed out on the page previously would be completed. So once we get into the lease purchase, the financing for this would fit right into our normal municipal capital article, when the one
Same way
equipment.
we bought the ladder.
Yes, same way we bought the ladder, and all of our fire equipment's been purchased that way. And then finally, the third one listed here, there was again a lot of discussion, the High Street and some other sidewalk project design money. Todd's been into you and has an article looking to do some work that he would then be able to apply for state funding through that Complete Streets. And what he ended up doing after discussion is looking at $90,000 that we could fund from free cash. That's a smaller piece of kind of his initial discussion, but the thought was to get this up and going, apply for the grant, get that money, and then we'll be back at a future time for some further pieces. And then just quickly on the next page is some items listed that we're able to fund through other methods. A couple of small ambulance-related things that we always fund with ambulance money. there had been something we had talked about for the library, and that will be done through the PBC authorization with remaining funding from the library construction project. And then the small items.
Question on the library, Pam, is there a point where we close out that project? Will this be the end, or are there punch list items still outstanding? Where do we stand, Rita?
I don't believe they're punch lists. I think when they did the ceiling, they were able to take care of
Yeah.
a couple of other punch lists with some lighting issues and other things that they were able to kind of adjust. So PBC was comfortable once those were done.
I'd be
Yep.
curious to know when it's done and when we settle up on it.
And the small piece on the bottom of page 6 is just things we fund within the municipal budget. Page 7 has kind of the list of what's not going forward at this point. And a lot of the items you see here are kind of larger capital items that we keep in the capital process so that they're talked about and people know they're on the horizon and are coming. They're just not ready to come forth at this point. So a lot of them are kind of on hold until something else is completed that might relate to them, and then they'll be able to come forward in future years' budget requests.
Do we not have detail for what the school is, or is it many small things? Do they submit?
It's just further amounts in each of the buckets that they have.
Already have, yeah.
here.
So they keep it rather general.
Yes, they keep it general, so it's not a specific project that I could say, but they kind of start their list with higher amounts in each of the categories from what they've come down to. So in some ways, a very healthy capital list. On the ongoing articles, over $1.5 million. And then these important 3 additional items with the fire engines and the turf field and the start of the design money to start to try to access some of that state funding for the sidewalk.
Pam, the only question I'm still left with is the one-time payment to do the field versus borrowing to do it. Can you just comment again on why you and Treasurer Gavin feel that's the better way to go?
Well, we will be issuing a bond. We already have a number of pieces.
Yeah.
Going into the bond, the things from the fall town meeting.
So it's not wanting to add more to it?
Not wanting to add more to that. It's a smaller project at that point. And
Does it
perhaps-
impact the sale of the bond or how people view it, or, I don't know?
No, that wouldn't really.
Okay.
That wouldn't really.
So it's kind of a judgment call that you guys
It
are
is.
saying? Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Hearn, anything?
There's no opportunity to ban that for a year and then combine that with other things?
Well, we could. Yep, we could.
Treasurer Gavin's call. That's not been decided, but you're leaning towards a one-time purchase?
He thought that that might make better sense, where we're trying to target using the capital stabilization. And then that funding won't be, involved kind of in the bond when we talk about the different funding pieces.
What's the cost of the track in that project?
About 100,000.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you, Pam.
So with your approval, we'll now send these capital articles along? Okay, we'll send them.
I
out to
move
the-
that we approve the capital budget update as presented by Ms. Dukeman tonight, as written.
I'll second that.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And then the only other item we'll have at your meeting next week is the Article 1, the supplemental transfers for the current year. And
Not a lot?
There are not a lot. But we'll get those into you, and again, we can send those out to the FinCom so that they have those and the capital before their final hearing at the end of the month. Great, thank you.
Next, we have the healthcare mitigation funds. Joan?
Hello.
Hi, Joan.
You know?
So, Mike, I'll ask you to jump in here wherever you see fit. And I'm conscious of the time. I know your folks are getting to the meeting. How much time do we have?
We have time.
Okay, great. So we're here to get your input for the several options that have been proposed for use of the healthcare mitigation funds now that we've switched to the GIC. By way of background, the town had set up a mitigation fund when we switched to the rate saver plans, $50,000 a year for 4 years, was paid out, and I won't go through the background now unless you'd like me to, but it actually was a very nice formula whereby we had an independent party manage an HRA that we'd established for this purpose, and employees, it turned out that the employees who had the highest out-of-pocket costs in their health care for each year got the benefit of those mitigation funds. So, think about that 80-20 rule, that 20% of employees that were really using the health insurance got some relief through those mitigation funds. So now we find ourselves not trying to figure out what the design should be now that we're with the GIC, and we have a big stumbling block in that the health insurers through the GIC do not keep aggregate data by town. So we can't get it from the health insurers. So we don't know how to administer. The only thing is the first thing that comes to mind is everyone brings in their buckets of receipts from their copays and their prescriptions and their everything, and has to have someone go through those receipts and add them all up, and that's kind of a nightmare administratively. There's huge HIPAA, concerns in terms of confidentiality, and it would cost a lot to administer. So we'd take almost 50% of our mitigation funds in finding someone to administer that program. So we've come up with 4 solutions, 4 options to consider. We'd like your input to bring back to the PEC about how we might structure it. The amount, again, is $50,000, which was promised for 3 years, $150,000. So we have 4 options. The first is to see if this would be a reasonable request that employees who felt like they were having high out-of-pocket costs get a summary statement from their insurer. It's just a statement of what they've actually paid out for the year. Then they would submit it. We would hire someone to go through that information and determine whether or not they would qualify for reimbursement. The advantage to that is that it would, it would be a way of getting the funds distributed. Disadvantages would probably cost more to administer than our HRA in the past. And the fact is that would employees actually do it? Anecdotally, we've learned, I think Mike had a conversation with at least one other town that did it this way, and they didn't spend their mitigation funds because employees didn't do it, even though they were, instructed to do it. So, the disadvantage is that the people that are using their health insurance the most might not get the benefit of the mitigation funds. So that's option number 1. Option number 2 would be let's just take $50,000, divide it by the number of people on our health insurance plans, and give them each a flat amount of money. Certainly is fair. It's easy to administer. It's spreads the wealth, but doesn't really
Seems
get.
rather socialist to me.
Okay, Bernie.
You feeling the burn, are you?
So, but it doesn't get to that 20% that's really experiencing those high
Right.
costs. So a third alternative, we thought, well, we'll just give a premium holiday, and we'll just have one pay period during the year when nobody pays a health care deduction. The downside, the upside is that it's easy to administer, very easy just to turn that deduction off for one pay period. The downside is that, if you're on an individual plan, you're not going to get nearly as much of a break as someone who's on a family plan. Again, it really wouldn't be targeting those people that are really using their health care the most. It also would cost about $80,000. That's one pay period's worth of deductions which is more than our $50,000 per year allotment. So the overall pool would go faster. And then a fourth alternative, something that the PEC had discussed and was kind of excited about, was to say, what if we said to the town, never mind, we won't take that mitigation fund at all, but could we just add another little % contribution to the town's, what the town contributes for employee health care, from 68 to 69%. So it, could be a permanent adjustment, could be a temporary adjustment until we go through that $150,000, which would basically take a little over 2 years, because it would cost about $65,000 a year. So one slight advantage is it would get us a little bit closer to other towns in the GIC. We tend to be at the low end of the scale in terms of the amount that we contribute.
Not tend, it is.
Pardon me?
Not tend, we are.
Well, we are. So again, that doesn't necessarily target that 20% that's experiencing the higher out-of-pocket costs.
But it's better to do that, I think, as I sit here and think about it, than try and do that holiday premium plan, because you can tailor it to hit your number of 50,000.
You can tailor the holiday by just saying you pay out 5/8 of a, you don't have to pay the 80,000, you can pay a percentage of the
Right.
holiday.
Yeah.
Get it down to 50,000.
You can, and then we just figure out how to, prorate it
You
for
prorate
people
it.
who are, yeah. So we're looking for your guidance. There is some, just as a little bit of background, we are required or to share at least 25% of the town's first-year savings from the switch to the GIC. I don't actually have the number. I think the number is, well, Pam has now left, but we actually did realize more of a savings than we had anticipated or budgeted, so that was good news for the town. The other thing is that there were a few things that employees I've been hearing are, a little frustrated because when we were negotiating with the PEC about transitioning, the deductibles at that time were $250 for an individual, $750 for a family. The deductibles went up after we agreed to join, and they decided to change their deductible year from a calendar year to a fiscal year, so they got hit with another half-year deductible. So, it hasn't been the easiest transition. It's been, so I think it's fair to say those people who are using the health insurance a lot are feeling some pain with the higher out-of-pocket costs with deductibles that we'd never had and the copays. So it's not an easy thing to figure out, but we'd love to have your thoughts on what to bring back to the PEC and say this, we think this could be a more workable.
Which one's the easiest one to administer along with reasonable outcome? Is it the holiday?
No, I think it's 69 to 68, is that right?
Well, the easiest to administer would just be increasing the percentage. That would be the easiest to administer. If
And the employees already agreed to that one.
the employees, yeah, that's what the PEC had suggested, and that's what they,
That slippery slope?
I don't think so. I mean, it's something you're gonna have to watch moving forward. I think if you do that, and I don't know how it's reported, like on their pay stub, it needs to be a separate line item and separate from their you know what I'm saying? So they understand that that's a time limited and this isn't something they've negotiated. We're not going to 69.
That's what I was
We're giving you 1% back from the mitigation fund.
and then when that is up, we're
It's done.
we're
done,
done. Yeah.
The reason I said slippery slope, when they,
It
another
is-
round
it-
of
I think
negotiation,
69,
are we
they
getting
think
it back?
69,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
We were at 69, why are you taking it down to
Yeah.
68?
Yeah. I don't disagree with that. That's hard. It's hard to do. It's hard to say, yeah, I know we were there, but we're.
No, we're really here.
Do it for 3 years, done.
That's what I think.
I think the other ways are pretty much a nightmare for paperwork. If you do
I go for the
almost any of
easiest.
the other options, you're gonna create a nightmare for paperwork, so.
It's not just paperwork, it's cost of administering,
Well, that's what I mean,
you know?
somewhat, if-
Somebody's
I
got to do
suppose
all that
There's something to be
minutia.
said for the fact that if they really want the money, they would go out and get it and do it. But I'm just afraid nowadays with more of the seniors who, take advantage, they can't do the request by computer, they can't.
Right.
So they'll be at the biggest disadvantage, and those are probably the ones who were submitting in the past.
Well, just to clarify, the mitigation funds are not for all of the people who are on our health insurance. So people who are on Medicare plans, Medicare supplement plans, are not actually eligible to receive mitigation funds.
They're the ones receiving their
It's the-
insurance through GIC.
Well,
Their
Well-
main insurance without Medicare.
right, non-Medicare plans. So there are about 60 to 65 retirees who are on active plans through the GIC, and they would be eligible for this benefit.
Yeah, because as soon as they hit 65, they've got to go to Medicare and they get off our insurance plan, the regular town employee plans.
So 68 to
So,
And here's the question that I would have then, given that, is it possible that we could think about inching up that $150,000 to accurately reflect that, whatever that 25% savings is of that first year?
got to talk to Pam about where that
Yeah,
would come from.
we need to
Sure.
know.
know that number. yeah.
Okay.
But can you think about, just think about that option in greater detail, such as, the additional funds needed, and come back to us and tell us that you can do a line item separate, so it doesn't get,
Almost like a credit on
tell
the,
us how it's going to end up looking, and so we can make the most informed decision.
Yes, I don't know enough about the payroll system to be able to say, yes, we can do a separate line item, or no, we don't.
I know,
No, we
it's so
can't.
easy.
even in the insurance section, it could say, temporary credit or something.
Yeah.
That we're,
Yeah. Great.
I would listen to the people on the PEC. I mean,
Yeah, it'd be nice to
to hear what
be
they
in
want.
agreement.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you.
Good luck.
Welcome.
Thanks, Joe.
Thanks, Jim.
nice job.
Okay, we are to review the annual town meeting warrant articles. We are removing one article.
I move that we remove the article for land taking by eminent domain.
Second?
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Any questions on any of the languages in the?
No, I looked at it briefly. So who's going tonight? Is it us and then the planning board?
No, yes,
The
after.
Petition article,
Petition article first.
Yeah, I saw that.
Well, Historical
historical
Commission,
commission, I mean.
then the Board of Selectmen. They may adjourn, depending on timing, and do planning board tomorrow night.
Well,
Because they have a school committee tomorrow night, too.
They have school tomorrow night.
Okay,
And they may also, depending again on timing, put the snow and ice off until tomorrow as well.
probably not gonna snow anymore.
Well, now that you said it.
Yeah, I know.
You're always the one that talk about people jinxing it.
I know.
It snowed on April 1st one year.
The slip.
What's worse than
And this
just
isn't
snow.
wood patch. This isn't wood.
Yeah,
Knock out
it is somewhere
all the
underneath there, Tom.
particle board.
Particle board,
All
yeah.
right, so our next meeting will be Monday, March 14th at 7:30 here in the Selectmen Meeting Room. We
We
are,
have a meeting 2 nights later in Dedham, right?
yes, we do.
Yes, you do.
Board of Selectmen will be attending the Finance and Warrant Commission public hearing this evening at 7:30 in the community room at the library. I have a motion
I
to
move we
adjourn.
adjourn to the Finance Commission meeting.
Second,
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
That is for the Legion.
Oh, the deed for the Legion. Do you have it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh, did you print it too?
I printed it out.
Do we need multiple copies?
Not bad to have a couple, you know?